What do you think you need to do? You need to go figure out who's going to buy your part. And so let's say I'm a potential customer. I don't know if I'm a battery manufacturer or a power supply, whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm a customer today. I'm buying a part from TI. Why would I switch over to you? Right? That's the question you got to answer. If it's because your part is they're selling for $1 and you can sell a part for 80 cents.
Yeah.
Cost is not the only reason. People don't really care about whether it's 0.35 or 0.4. Some people do, but in general, I think what I would suggest in that case is use your technology and your technique to go figure out what can you create as a product that the customer really cares about.
Yeah, so like my point here is like I just did the state of charge, like but to implement this idea, I need a whole battery management system. So that I can say like, see, like this can work like with this whole thing, and the battery can be managed more nicely or like more efficiently.
So the thing I'm trying to get you to think about is think about who has this problem. Who is a customer that really cares about? So let's say your part is smaller and it's cheaper.
More
That could be,
accurate also. And more accurate. Yeah. Okay.
accuracy is a tough one. I think it's a good technical accomplishment, but you got to figure out if the customer cares about it or not. I don't know what the answer is because I'm not an expert in that space, but you have to think about if it's the fire alarm manufacturer that has a battery charger, doesn't want to, who's the customer that cares about it, right?
No,
About
but everybody is using the battery right now. So like, so
they're
everybody
using
is the
it, they're
customer.
using TI's solution for $1.
Yeah.
By going to a 90-cent solution, it's not enough impetus to go switch. That's the point I'm trying to make to you. And that's okay coming from a technical perspective. I appreciate your coming forward and thinking about it. But what I'm suggesting is think a little differently, right? Use that basis to solve a customer problem in something that the customer cares about and that they're willing to pay you. Because if they're not, then you accomplished good technical stuff, but it's not a good business solution. That makes sense? So it's not a negative, it's just training you to think a little differently.
I see.
Any other comments on that? Am I right about this, or? I think you got to keep doing the technical stuff. Don't give up on that. You got to write a publication, you got to do all of those things. But if you really want to make a business out of it, think of it as a business person, right?
Okay, so like there's one more question is that like we all engineers, we all researchers like wants to solve a particular thing, but so like we don't have this thing. Okay, like let's put this thing like in some applications, like to real. So like when we do like some measurements, we think okay, like let's assume this, and based on that we do measurements and we just publish the papers or whatever. So like what like as an engineer or like a researcher, like how should I know, like I don't know how to explain this, but like these questions always comes to my mind, that how to like reach to the product level.
So you remember the orthogonal chart I showed you? You're on the x-axis, you're doing good technical work, you got an end result as a publication. Okay, that's the path you're on. If you want to be on the vertical path, which is to start a business, you got to train your mind a little differently, right? And not the first idea that you come up with is going to be successful. This is where a lot of the researchers go wrong, is they're on a path to publish papers. Feel free to add something. You're a researcher, right? Your end in mind is to write papers, and that's great. We need people to do that. But to create a business out of it, you got to think a little differently. That's the point I'm trying to teach you. You agree? So don't give up your passion. If you want to be a startup, keep thinking maybe the 10th idea that you come up with might have the right combination. And how you decide that is have somebody with experience to be able to open your mind to ask the right questions. Because, you know, all human beings, you're doing technical, your work is the greatest, that's what you focus on, right? But you're on the x-axis, you're not on the z-axis,
Z-axis,
right?
yes.
That's the difference.
I see.
So
Thank you.
keep working on it.
Yeah.
Don't give up yet.
Okay.
Any other volunteers?
Hi, Dr. Kuma. Wonderful speech. Thank you. I have one question. When we look at your career path, we know you have 5 stages. And then my question is, what is the most difficulties you faced when you change your status? Thank you.
What 5 stages are you referring to? Make sure I'm on the right chart here. You mean this one?
Yeah.
Oh, so what's the question? Sorry.
What is the most difficulties you faced when you change your status?
Oh, most difficult
Yeah.
state? Oh boy, that's a tough question. I think for me, personally, it sort of came naturally to the extent that inherently I'm a broad person. I mean, the model I draw is, ion implant engineers and narrow deep in that field, doing that X-axis technical work, right? By nature, I am the broad person. I'm always looking for the device effects, looking for the packaging effects, all of those things, right? And so for me to go technically, to expand my skill set, that was no problem. Doing the soft skills, again, I saw the value of good presentations, came sort of naturally. Hard decisions were, should I commit to being a manager or should I be technical? I think that was a difficult one that I have no regrets in what I did, but I think there was a phase over in some cases. I was always ambitious, so I think that's very personal kind of decisions. The entrepreneur, leaving my job to go do an entrepreneurship, I think when I was still at Unisys, we tried to launch a business and that didn't quite work out because I was, I had little kids and it was a little difficult to do. But once I left Cadence, that was a natural spot because I had that passion. And then the educator part, again, that came more as a natural because I had all this experience and I wanted to share my experiences back. So that's my motivation for doing that. So I'm sure there was stumbling blocks in between, but did I sort of answer your question? Or I think it went from one to the other, and I was kind of mentally preparing myself to, I've always wanted to be teaching the last 10 years of my career, so here I am, right? And sort of a natural fit into being the educator. I don't know. Did I answer your question? Or okay. Any other questions? Yeah?
Professor Kuma, I'm a graduate student of in the direction of RF receiver front design. And I have heard that many people are saying RF design is dying and the whole world will be digital. So I want to ask you, how do you think of the future of RF design and analog design?
Who's telling you RF design is dying? I don't think it's dying. I think there's always radio frequency signals that, yeah, you can sample it, but there's certainly you gotta receive the signal and you gotta drive the signal. So I don't think it's going away. I think. What do you think? Yeah, I think it's even more important because there's so many different bands that you gotta go take care of. So no, I don't listen to those people. Good question, though. In the back there? Way in the back. Make sure those that are asking the question that come up and I'll sign your book.
Hi, this is Dreaming from HKUST. Very nice talk, thank you. So my question is, have you considered to be the full-time faculty member in one university? Second question is, if one man researcher want to be the faculty but also want to start up his own company, what should he do? Thank you.
Okay, so a couple different questions. One, have I considered being a full-time faculty? I'm still waiting for an offer. I don't have one. You know, that'll depend on what the particular situation is. I'm still doing my consulting and having a good time doing it, so I'm able to do both, so that I'm not sure exactly what will happen next. And what was your next question? Oh, you are the faculty thinking of doing a startup? Is that what you said? What happened to the mic? Alvin, where's the mic? Could you repeat your second question?
Assume I'm a faculty member already, but yeah, I'm not. Yeah,
Okay.
assume one man's a faculty member, he wants to do the startup maybe at his 40.
Oh, okay.
What should he do? Yeah, thank you.
All right, so what I would point you again to that orthogonal chart. If you're a faculty member doing research today, you're on the horizontal graph, right? Your end goal is to get grants, to do publications, to do research, right? And if you want to get up the vertical axis, the z-axis, what you have to do is think through the questions I was answering to this other gentleman, is to understand in the cartoon, you have an idea. The problem with faculty members, with due respect, is they think they know what the customer wants. But what I would say is make sure that you do customer discovery the way I define it, and I can send you references. You have to observe the problem, you have to validate the problem, you have to validate your solution before you launch a company. That's what I would do different. Make sense? Anybody else? You have a question? Oh, okay. You're just trying to give me a certificate. Okay. No other questions? Then maybe we get to leave early, 15 minutes. Huh. One question there. Okay.
Hi, Professor. I'm a MPhil student from Hong Kong EST as well. So I've been working on a